All right. Hello out there, all you Helix fans. Today, I would like to talk to you about the Revv Gen Purple. Let's hear it. All right, I dig it. So listen, uh, this amp came out in one of the later firmwares. I don't remember if it's 2.9, 9.1, whatever. But as you see here, I'm running Helix Floor 2.92. So when I upgraded to the latest firmware, I got this amp. I have seen some videos about it, so there are already some out there, but I wanted to share what I did with this patch, with this particular amp, and some of the tricks that I use. So just for introduction's sake, my name is Tony Clark. I am a guitar player in Louisville, Kentucky, and I play with a band called Wax Factory. And I'll put links to our YouTube channel in the description below so you can go check out our stuff. The majority of the videos you're going to see on the Wax Factory page are either me using a Helix Live or using the Helix native plugin in a digital audio workstation or DAW. And so I've run both USB Helix into the DAW, and I've run native using a plugin with a Focusrite Scarlett. So the latest videos you see are the latter, the Helix native plugin using the Scarlett. But in live situations, I run the Helix front of house directly into the front of house, and no amps or speakers on stage, and in-ear monitors, and it's a great setup. It's a quiet stage. And so having said that, I'll show some of the things that I use to maybe enhance that a bit, or give me the ability to do some things that you wouldn't normally be able to do in that situation where you are running a quiet stage with in-ears. For the purpose of this video, let me quickly describe what my setup is. I'm playing a Suhr Classic Antique into the Helix. The Helix is running into the USB into my MacBook Pro, where you see HX Edit running right now. For the audio, this microphone that I'm talking into and the Helix is going into an Allen & Heath Zed 10FX, and that is running USB into my MacBook Pro, where I'm doing a screen capture video that you are watching. So with that out of the way, I'd like to talk just for a second about building tones. Okay, we all have watched tone building videos on YouTube, and if you are a Helix person like me, you've spent hours fine-tuning your tones. And maybe you'll watch this video and say, oh my God, I would never do anything this guy's doing. That's the beauty of this device. You can do with it whatever you want. You get the sounds you want. If it makes you happy, then you're probably going to play better. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, okay? So in this particular patch, I really like the gain structure of the Revv Gen Purple. And I don't know anything about this amplifier other than what I've seen on YouTube and what I've used setting this amp up. But you're looking at the settings now, okay? And, you can pause the video at any point and look to see, how I've set it, and, if you like that or if you want to fine-tune it to your own liking. But, my signal chain is basically this pitch patch, which I will talk about. Well, I'll go back one. I am using an input gate on. I do have the pad on for the high Z. So even though I don't have active pickups, I still like to use that anyway. I think it cleans up that initial guitar signal coming in to the Helix. And my global EQ. So, I'll talk about EQ when I talk about this particular EQ block here. But I can't say enough about EQ on the Helix. That's the key for good tone and really good feel. Step one, if you haven't done this already, go into your global settings, go to your global EQ, and roll off the low end below like 80 to 90 hertz and get rid of all the high end above, say, 9,000. That's a good general rule of thumb, because you're trying to emulate a guitar, and there's not a cabinet that you plug into these days, 412, 112, 212, whatever, that's going to be full range, that has that gamut of frequencies. So by narrowing that and cutting off the low and cutting off the high, you sound more and feel more like a guitar. All right, so do that first. Go watch a video if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's a million of them out there that talk about this that will show you. You don't need me to do it here. Go watch those and learn that and set your global EQ settings appropriately. All right, and then just really quick, I'll talk about what I do to build a live sound for live gigs. I'll use the same setup. I'll go Helix into the ZFX10, and then from that I'll go to a Headrush full range flat response 12, and I'll set my EQ as flat as I can. And if I can get my guitar to sound exactly like I want through that rig, I know it's going to sound good in the PA that I use on a normal situation, or pretty much any PA out there, because you're working with a competent sound engineer. You don't want them to have to fool with your EQ half the night. He's got enough to worry about with vocals and everything else. So trust me, the easier you can make it on your front of house engineers, the better you're going to be. So that's what you should strive for. If you don't have that kind of setup, you can probably get by with your headphones. But again, I can't urge enough to spend a little bit of money, get one of those full range speakers. And then if you do need to do a show where you need an amp, you've got a speaker that you can basically throw on stage. I've done that. I've gone to gigs before with my Helix, this Zed 10FX mixer, and that Headrush speaker, and used it like a guitar rig, and it worked flawlessly. It was beautiful. So, all right, getting back to the patch. So I've showed you the amp. Now I'm going to talk about this EQ, okay? I love using the Calligraph EQ. I think that's a great representative of what, guitar frequencies are, and what the important ones are. And as you can see, I've boosted a little bit of the 240, and I've boosted the 750 and a little bit of the 220 or 2200, and I left the 6000 where it was, and the 80 hertz. You can cut that if it's too much, but since I've already got global EQ settings below or above 80, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make a difference. So I usually place this EQ block between the amp and my speaker cabinets. All right, so in this case, I'm using 2 impulse responses. All right, so let's go to the impulse response 1. Both of these are Ownhammers. This one is the Core Tone Bundle 412. It's a mix, so it's a Marshall large cabinet. I don't remember the model. I think it's an MR82, but it's the large 412 with the 25 watt speakers in it, Celestion speakers, Rolla Celestion speakers. And they mix that with a Mesa Boogie with vintage 30s, the 70 watt vintage 30s. And the bold, they usually include a bold like 1 through 10, 10 different bold settings. And the bold is a little bit more pronounced low mid, and a little bit of the highs and lows rolled off. And it just makes for a really nice sound. If I was to use one IR, I would probably use this one, because I could get those really good mids that I'm looking for to let me sit well in the mix when I'm playing live. Because your guitar might sound great at home, and then as soon as you start adding bass and drums and vocals and everything else to the mix, your guitar might be lost. A lot of the sounds that you really liked are gone. And if you can emphasize those frequencies where the guitar lives, you're much better off, because you're going to sit in the mix really well. I learned that from studio players who talk about that, like Tom Bugovac and some of those other guys. So yeah, that's the Core Tone Bundle 412 Bold. And then this is the Ownhammer Heavy Hitters 412, which is a combination of an orange and a Mesa with vintage 30s. And it's the John Simons. And if you don't know who he is, just Google him. Look him up on YouTube. He's got a ton of videos. Sonic Drive Studios, I believe, is his YouTube channel. And he builds IRs. And he does a bunch of stuff for Ownhammer. And this is his proprietary blending of microphones. They don't say what it is, but I think it sounds great. And I'm using this. I'm splitting this 50-50. So just real quick, let me show you what that means. Okay, so I'm going to turn the guitar up a little bit. And I'm going to route all the way over to the first. This is the bold. Now, the volume dropped because that's how this works when you split it A and B. If you go all the way over to one or the other, the volume's going to drop, and you have to adjust the volume of the IR to get it to come back. So that's the bold by itself. If I go all the way over to B, which is the John Simons. Very similar, but this one has a little bit more high end, if you will. And when you blend them, of course, even split, you get all your sound back, all your volume back. I just think it's a nice combo. If you can do it, why not? And for DSP purposes, I'm using the 1024, which is the lower reflections. If you know anything about impulse responses, there's early reflections, and the 2048 hertz impulse responses have a little more early reflection, so you get a little bit more of the sound of the speaker after it's in the room. Anyway, it's not worth talking about here. You can go look at that up, but I just know it sounds good. So that's the signal chain, is amp, EQ, and those two impulse responses. Now the other one, the other integral part of this that's always on in this patch. These are always on. So I'm going back and forth from the amp to the EQ to the two impulse responses to the reverb. The reverb stays on. This is what happens when you turn the reverb off, okay? So, if you were recording, absolutely, let the post-production add all the verb. But I'm playing live, so I'm going to add it back. All right. I just think that reverb sounds great. Trails are on. You can pause the video and look at all these settings if you like it. All right. So, like I said, the reverb stays on. The rest of these are all foot switch assigned. And, but I want to go back and talk about this EQ for a second, okay? So fine-tuning your tone with the EQ. I'm going to let you hear what the amp sounds like without this EQ on, all right? So I'm going to turn it off. All right, here we go. So, off, on. Now, off, it sounds fine. But on, I think it just cuts through the mix. And if you want to add to it, you can fine-tune it, whatever. But I found that if you'd use any of these EQs, whether it be parametric, let's say you're somebody who likes to use digital audio workstations, you've messed around with the EQ in GarageBand, as simple as GarageBand, and as complex as Pro Tools or Ableton or one of those. And you like the parametric EQ, and you like that graph where you kind of roll off the highs or whatnot, you can certainly do that here with the Helix if you want. That's the beauty of this option. But I just find that these frequencies are great to quickly fine-tune. Let's say you're at a show, you're not happy with the way the EQ sounds, your sound engineer tells you you're a little too mid-rangey, you're a little too bassy, you're a little too high-endy, whatever. You can come in here really quick with this EQ, fine-tune, adjust it really quick, live, save it, and everybody's happy. So that's the other part I like about this, is it's super simple to adjust. You literally just go in and roll these back and forth to adjust what you need. You don't have to go into low and mid shelves and this cut and that cut and this frequency. You just pick the frequency, adjust it, you're done. It's great. So I can't recommend this EQ enough. All right. So that's basically the amp and the EQ and the IRs. Now let's talk about some of the effects. I have a duck delay here. I'll turn it on. If you're not familiar with the duck delay, they're kind of cool, but at the same time, I probably don't have this one set exactly right, because when I stop playing, A duck delay is it gets out of the way while you're soloing. So if so you hear it come real loud at the end. So it's supposed to, if that's the effect you're looking for, this is ideal. I think there was one song that we did that I needed that for, and that's where that patch came in. The transistor tape, I can't say enough good things about the transistor tape. I love this delay. All right. Let's see. This is a flanger. Yeah, the flanger's great. I don't use it very often, but and then I've got a phase 90. So you get the idea with the phase 90. Then you got the, I love the Trinity chorus. I think it's a great chorus. There's a blast from the past. All you 90s kids. I don't even know if that came out in the 90s. I don't remember anyway. If this was to be monetized, it would probably be demonetized for copyright. But anyway, but that's the Trinity chorus. I think that's a great chorus. All right. Again, all these are switch or assignable. Then let's talk about some of my overdrives. I'm one of those guys that puts the overdrives in front of the amp and the reverb modulation delays and all that behind as if you're in the effects loop. If you're trying to reproduce something like Eddie Van Halen or whatever, you might move the flanger and the phaser in front of the amp like he did in the studio, and you'll get that sound. But for this patch, this is what I've done. So this is based on the Dallas Rangemaster, which is a mid-range boost. So if you're soloing and so if you can imagine, quiet stage, no amps or anything on stage, but that patch, that overdrive can actually allow me to get feedback through the front of house. So it's pretty cool. That's why I use it. And you can see the settings, how I have it set. You can set it to your liking to see if you like the same thing. But I also have a King of Tone that, for solos and so I just stacked both of them. I turned them both on during that solo part. You can imagine you turn both of those on, you're going to scream in the front end. So, okay, a little bit of editing magic. I kind of screwed up the last part of the video there. So what I neglected to show when I finished the video initially was what the settings were for the King of Tone. So here they are. So if you're familiar with the King of Tone, it's basically two pedals in one. It's a low gain yellow channel and a higher gain red channel. Well, that's how my actual King of Tone is, and I've configured this very similar. So the first channel, the yellow channel, is more of a boost and with normal gain structure. And there are the gain, tone, presence, clipping and all that. And then the second part of the pedal, the red channel, if you will, is more of an overdrive that's set to higher gain. And I've got it set like a 9 volt instead of an 18. I don't know. Let's hear the difference real quick between the 9 and 18. I really don't hear a difference. Probably why I kept it 9 volt. So, but yeah, that's the King of Tone. Okay, so showed you the Range Master, showed you the King of Tone, played a little solo with them stacked, and so let's talk about the wah. There's nothing special about the wah. I'm not really going to demo it because you know what a wah sounds like. This one is a phasal. I like the phasal inductor sound, and I've got it set to expression pedal 1. So when you click down on it, just like most of you have already figured out how to do. So let's talk about this pitch wham that I have set up here. What this is for times when we're playing a song that might be in the key of like B flat, but I want to play it in A. So it would be, rather than capo on the first fret, I can use this to tune my guitar up a half a step. By the same token, if we're playing a song that's in E flat and I don't want to bring a guitar that's tuned a half step down, I'll just use this to drop the whole guitar down a half step. So I've got it set to the expression 2, which is why this 100% is in brackets. If I turn the effect on and roll it forward, you see it says +1 here. And when I go middle, it's 0. And when I go to the full heel position, I'm -1. So my whole sweep of the pedal is all the way forward +1, middle of the pedal 0, heel of the pedal -1. So that's pitch. That's transposing the entire pitch of the guitar up a half step, standard, and down a half step. So this is what it sounds like when you're in normal, no pitch transposition. I'll play a little riff in E. I'll go up a half step. So now I'm playing an F, but I'm physically playing an E, but it sounds like I'm an F. And then back down to E. And then down a half step. So no warbling, no latency. To anybody playing along and you're playing an E, I'm playing an E as well, but it sounds like I'm an E flat. And there it is off. So it's a cool effect. If you put it at the very, very, very beginning of your patch before anything else, it tends to work better. There are a lot of videos out there that show you how to do this. If anybody is interested in specifically learning how to do this, I could put a video together for you, no problem. just shoot me a message or leave a comment or whatever, and I'll get to it if I see enough people are interested. But otherwise, again, if you go to YouTube and search for this, how to tune your guitar up or down a half a step using this, that's how I learned how to do it. It's really no magic to it. What you might find though is it doesn't work for you. Now there are plenty of people out there that say this does not work. And if you run this on lower gain patches, I have found that also there are problems with it. You get a lot of digital artifacts and warbling and unusability. I've also found that transposing it down more than half a step can be problematic. So to the guys who want to like do drop C or something, it may or may not work. You may have to bring an extra guitar. Sorry, but there's plenty of other pedals like the drop tune and some of those. I think Morpheus is one. You could certainly put that in the signal path or in the one of the effects loops of the Helix and use that. I'm sure it works fine. I haven't tried it, but I don't need to because I'm only going down or up a half a step, and this works every time for me. The only problem I have is when I forget to turn the stupid thing off and we go to the next song and like an idiot I'm playing in the wrong key for a couple of seconds and then everybody looks at me and laughs. So there's that. So you got to remember to turn the damn thing off. Outside of that, it's great. So that's it in a nutshell. That is the Revv Gen Purple patch that I put together. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of this. Leave a comment. I'm not really doing the whole subscribe thing yet, even though if you want to, you can. I will probably do more videos if there's more interest. There's just so many people doing Helix videos. I just don't know if it's worth it. But I have some friends who reach out to me on a regular basis to ask me for questions and whatnot. And I thought, hey, if I can share some knowledge, I would love to share some knowledge and maybe throw a video or two out on YouTube and so hey, if you like the content, I'll keep doing this. And if there's anything you want to see specifically with the Helix, or anything you want to see specifically with recording or tones or guitars or whatever, just hit me up and let me know, and I'll put something together for you. I'd be more than happy to do it. So I'll play out a little bit as we go. And again, my name is Tony Clark, and I'm with the band Wax Factory, and hope to see you guys online real soon. So take care.